Train Lover 1974 presents Part 2. Ever since Jonathan and Peter arrived on the railway, they had been doing excellent at their jobs. Peter had been even gifted to pull passenger trains, and he absolutely enjoyed it, even though his class never really pulled much passengers. He loves traveling down the line, feeling the wind in his face as he pulls his lovely coaches behind him. You know, I tell you, I really enjoy these passenger runs. I can tell why you like them. Indeed, my dear friend Peter. Me and my brother Golden pulled the Wild Nor'Wester and the Flying Sudrian. The Flying what? The Flying Sudrian. It's a new express service that Topham had established for me. Golden pulls the Wild Nor'Wester, the Northwestern Railway's top link express train, and I will pull the second top link express train, being the Flying Sudrian. That's the train I pull, since, I live here on the island of Sodor now. That's incredible. Indeed, my dear brother. Me and you pull the top link express trains. We are the most fabulous engines on this whole railway. Hey, I wouldn't get too puffed up in your smoke box there, buddy. All of us are important. In fact, I've actually heard some interesting news. What is that? Well, from what I've heard, Sir Topham Hatt's going to be bringing another engine to the island to live here. Another one? But we just received Jonathan and Peter. Yes, but he wants to open up a third express service, this one that will run beyond Barrow. So this means you and me will be the only ones to stop at Barrow, but there will be another one that will go slightly beyond that, to the next station. What's it going to be? From what I've heard, it's going to be an A4, but I'm not too sure yet. Oh great, you and me will have to deal with another A4 if Spencer wasn't enough. Where is Spencer anyway? He's away on overhaul. I heard he won't be here for another couple of years. You know, that is very... Ugh, hate this stupid goods work. You know what? I shouldn't complain. At least I have work to do. Hey, you lot should stop gossiping when there's work to be done. Well, how rude. Indeed. You know, why is he being so attitudey towards us? We give him a home and this is how he treats us? Peter, do you maybe know? I'm afraid I don't. He came on the ship before I did. He came from all the way from America, from what I was told. America? Yes, he's a U.S. engine. Why do you think he says New York Central? Well, I knew he was American-built, but this does make the question, why would Sir Topham Hatt want an American engine on Sodor? I have no idea. Indeed, it does make you wonder what is wrong with him. What they didn't realize was Edward was listening the whole time. Maybe I should have a talk with Jonathan. Jonathan was finishing up his final shunting after dropping off his goods train at the harbor. Alright, now that's done, I can go fill up on water. But instead, he was shunted onto a siding. What am I being put here for? There's an engine who wants to have a word with you, so we were ordered to place you here by Sir Topham Hatt himself. We're gonna head off to the office. We'll see you in a bit. And the driver and fireman walked off. This is complete bull. I need to fill up on water for my next train. Oh, don't worry. You don't need to worry about that goods train. Henry's going to handle it. What do you want? I'm here to talk with you, Jonathan. You've been acting so mean towards us, even though we've been trying to make you welcomed. And I have to ask, why? Why are you being so rude? You were rude towards Peter, you were rude towards Duck, rude towards me. Why are you being so antisocial? I'm sorry, alright? I don't mean to act mean, it's just I didn't have a good life before coming here. Do you mind if you could explain? I can, but it's gonna be a long story. I have time. My next train ain't due for an hour. That's exactly the amount of time you'll need. It all started back in the 1940s. I was built for the New York Central Railroad system back in America. I had a good life there at first. I got to meet many engines, including none other than one of the famous locomotives of the New York Central, the mighty Hudson class. They were often considered the fastest locomotives we had on the New York Central roster and competed with the Pennsylvania Railroad. I mostly shunted along the New York Central, being that I was a shunter and I couldn't really pull long distance trains like those New York Central locomotives could. But I did wish to pull a passenger train, and I almost got my chance around the 1950s. I was in charge that night of getting the New York Central's coaches ready. However, there was a problem. I didn't realize it at the time, but the dreyfus had failed that night. One of its cylinders had burst and he couldn't pull the train. And around this time, I was just putting the coaches into the station. It was just when I pulled back into that yard I heard the news that the dreyfus had failed. And there were no other engines to take the train. The other Hudsons were busy, or the Mohawks were busy with heavy goods. There was simply no other engines available, except for me. So I was going to be assigned to pull it. I felt so ecstatic I was finally going to be able to pull a passenger train. But my hopes were dashed. I was so excited as I pulled in that station ready to pull that train. But, unfortunately, as I said, my hopes were dashed by a sleek, new, modern diesel. It was from the Great Northern Railroad. I was questioning what it was doing all the way out here in the New York Central, but apparently the New York Central loaned one for a trial. That's to test the diesel locomotives. He said something very rude to me. Well, well, if it isn't a steaming kettle. Ugh, I can't believe the New York Central is still using old-timers like you. Now, hey now, I might be a bit old, but I'm still very useful and you're on my passenger train. Your passenger train? You're just a shunter. Not even those Hudsons would let you touch these valuable coaches. Now watch as I take over the New York Central. My class will roll out faster than you could say Dreyfus. And the diesel rumbled off. I never felt so insulted in my life, but I didn't realize how true that diesel's words would come to be. Me and my friend Hudson began noticing something throughout the few months. More and more diesels were starting to come onto our railroad. That northern engine never left. They in fact kept him, considering him a big success. Hudson had never been more humiliated in his life to lose his valuable train. I felt sad for being robbed. I started noticing more and more diesels over the months, especially after Hudson lost his express. Now, at first, I didn't feel too threatened by it, since I didn't think they would come up with anything newer to replace me. But I was wrong. They started introducing freight diesels that start taking over the goods work. The New York Central was quick to monopolize on this, especially when Errol P. Perlman came in charge. Sorry if I said the name wrong. He started seeing for a mass scrapping of all steam locomotives on the New York Central, saying if any were preserved, it would consider his company out of date, as he was in favor of the brand new diesel engines that were considered faster, cleaner, and more efficient than steam locomotives ever could be. Eventually, I got the devastating news. Hudson, my friend, was the last remaining member of his class still around. A lot of his brothers and cousins were already sent for scrap. Oh, Hudson, I'm so sorry for your loss. It'll be fine. I guess the end of the line will probably come for me as well. I mean, look at me. I'm not exactly in the best condition, especially with that Perlman man in charge. I'm bound for the scrap heap. No, you won't. I have a plan to get you saved. How so? Just wait. I've got the perfect plan, and I know it'll work. Okay then. My plan was that I discussed with a few men to help rescue Hudson. We were going to send him off to the Strasburg Railroad as to get preserved and quickly saved before Perlman could send him for scrap. Perlman actually was nice about this and actually set up a deadline. The Strasburg Railroad had a total of about 6 months to save up enough money to save Hudson, or else he would be sent for the scrap heap. I became part of this funding. I worked extra hard throughout those months, determined to earn enough money to preserve Hudson. He had been there for me, so I was going to be there for him. I worked twice as hard. Soon, 6 months had flew by, and, thankfully, we had gained enough money to preserve him. Officially, Hudson was sold off to the Strasburg Railroad. Perlman was even there to send him off. Well, I guess this is it. I'm going to miss you, Jonathan. I'm going to miss you too, Hudson. But what are you going to do? You're still at threat of being scrapped. I'm sure I'll be fine. A lot of my brothers managed to get in preservation. I'm sure I can too. I mean, who wouldn't want to preserve a little shunter like me? I guess. But why would you go through so much effort to preserve me? Because you've done a lot for the New York Central, and you deserve to be remembered. I mean, imagine what would have happened if you were the last Hudson and all of your kind was scrapped. Imagine all the people that would complain about that in the future. Huh, I guess you're right. Plus, the Strasburg Railroad told me, their representatives, that they're not going to keep you, but instead they're going to donate you after they give you a bit of maintenance to the, what they call the New York Central Railroad Museum. Somewhere out west, I think. I heard that there's actually a Mohawk there now. I think. I guess. I just hope they'll accept me. Accept you? Of course they will. You're one of the last remaining New York Central Hudsons still standing. If they didn't preserve you, they're idiots for that. I guess. Well, I better be off. Goodbye, my friend. I hope you get preserved. I hope so, too. Good luck on the Strasburg Railroad. Hudson would go off to have a good laugh. He would then be donated to another railroad. And he's still around to this day from what I've heard. The last remaining Hudson's still around. But unfortunately, I wasn't as lucky as him. I would go on eventually to help rescue another New York Central Hudson. He was on the threat of the cutting block too. He was only one of the non-New York Central Dreyfus Hudsons still around, a normal Hudson. However, he was on the threat of being scrapped too. So I did something a little sneaky. Entering around the 1960s, which I know is shocking that we both survived that long, I managed to meet up with someone at a county fair who wanted to buy one of New York Central's engines. He actually wanted to buy me, but I offered him instead to buy Hudson. You know, the last other Hudson. He was inspected and officially was preserved, so now officially 2 New York Central Hudsons were still around. One streamlined, one not. Thank you so much. I'll never forget what you've done for me. It's no problem, mate. Anything to help a fellow steamer out. But I didn't realize that my life was only going to get worse from there. I was withdrawn from service about a year later. Perlman finally found out about me and withdrawing me. However, the workmen didn't want to see me scrapped, so they placed me into a shed along an old disused branch line. I stayed there for decades. No one came to preserve me. No one even came to visit me. I guess this just built up anger after everything I did for everyone else. No one even bothered to come save me. At least until Sir Topham Hatt found me. And then I was finally preserved. And that is my entire story. I eventually was put on a ship, and that's where I met Peter. I'm so sorry you had to go through all of that. It's fine. I went through a lot. But at least I got preserved in the end. Now that I think about it, you guys were nothing but just kind to me and welcoming, and I just shoved that right in your face. Edward, I truly am sorry. It's just you have. I understand. And I forgive you, and I'm sure the others will too, but you need to show us that you do want forgiveness. I will, I promise. Good. Now, if you excuse me, I need to be off. We have to be ready for the Mallard's visit. Remember what I said, Jonathan. I will, Edward. I will. Sir Topham had indeed did purchase an A4, and it was incredible that it was indeed the Mallard. He was purchased from the National Railway Museum, and now had come to live with us on the island of Sodor with Flying Scotsmen. But that's another story. As for Jonathan, Jonathan would make amends with everyone, and everyone would forgive him. It would take a few days, but everyone did forgive him in the end. And he finally got to pull a proper passenger train after proving himself pulling many goods and other passenger duties. He finally got to pull a proper passenger train. Jonathan is a changed engine, and is really kind to everyone now, as he never wants to go back to being that grumpy engine that arrived on Sodor. And to this day, he remains a really useful engine.